Why is it so easy to repeat bad habits and so hard to form good ones? You set the goal, you have the motivation, you start the engine, and then, a week later, you stall. The problem isn't you, the problem is your system. We are obsessed with massive transformations. We think success requires a quantum leap. But today, we are breaking down the science of tiny changes based on James Clear's atomic habits. This is how you hack your biology to master your life. Let's go back to 2003. British cycling was a joke. In 110 years, no British cyclist had ever won the Tour de France. They were so mediocre that one top bike manufacturer actually refused to sell them equipment because they were afraid it would hurt their brand's reputation. Enter Dave Brailsford. He didn't promise a miracle. He didn't overhaul the entire team overnight. He implemented a strategy called the aggregation of marginal gains. Brailsford looked for a 1% improvement in everything. They redesigned bike seats for comfort. They rubbed alcohol on tires for better grip. They tested massage gels. They even hired a surgeon to teach the athletes how to wash their hands properly to avoid getting a cold. They painted the inside of the team truck white to spot little bits of dust that could degrade the bike maintenance. People thought these details were laughable. They didn't seem to matter in the moment. But habits are the compound interest of self-improvement. Here is the math. If you get 1% better every day for a year, you end up 37 times better by the time you're done. Conversely, if you get 1% worse, you decline nearly to zero. 5 years later, the British team dominated the Beijing Olympics, then London, then they won the Tour de France 5 times in 6 years, from a laughingstock to a dynasty, not by a giant leap, but by the aggregation of tiny 1% gains. But here is the trap. You start your 1% journey. You go to the gym for a week, you write for a month, you save money for a quarter, and when you look in the mirror or check your bank account, nothing has changed. This is the valley of disappointment. We expect progress to be linear. We think if we put in 10 units of work, we should get 10 units of results. But that is not how reality works. Imagine an ice cube sitting in a cold room. It's 25 degrees. You slowly heat the room. 26, 27, the ice cube is still frozen. You're putting in the energy, but you see no result. 29, 30, 31, still nothing. 32, the ice begins to melt. Now, was it that 1 degree shift from 31 to 32 that caused the melting? No, it was the cumulative energy of all the degrees before it. When you finally break through the plateau of latent potential, people will call you an overnight success. They see the melt, they didn't see the heating. If you're struggling to build a habit, you haven't failed. You're just at 31 degrees. Your work isn't wasted, it's being stored. So how do we endure the cold until the ice melts? We have to stop focusing on what we want to achieve and start focusing on who we want to become. Imagine 2 people resisting a cigarette. The first person says, "No thanks, I'm trying to quit." It sounds reasonable, but it's flawed. They still believe they're a smoker who's trying to be something else. They're hoping their behavior changes while carrying the same beliefs. The second person says, "No thanks, I am not a smoker." It's a small difference, but it signals a shift in identity. They don't identify as a smoker anymore. True behavior change is identity change. The goal is not to read a book. The goal is to become a reader. The goal is not to run a marathon. The goal is to become a runner. Every action you take is a vote for the type of person you wish to become. No single instance will transform your beliefs, but as the votes build up, so does the evidence of your new identity. Finally, let's talk about the biggest lie in self-improvement: motivation. We think we need more willpower, but willpower is like a muscle. It gets tired. If you want to succeed, stop relying on willpower and start designing your environment. Anne Thorndike, a physician at Massachusetts General Hospital, proved this without saying a word to her patients. She wanted to change the eating habits of thousands of staff and visitors. She didn't motivate them, she didn't educate them, she simply changed the choice architecture. Originally, the refrigerators next to the cash registers were filled with only soda. She added water to those fridges. She placed baskets of water bottles throughout the room. Over the next 3 months, soda sales dropped by 11% and water sales shot up by 25%. Nobody's motivation changed, the environment changed. If you want to practice guitar, put it in the middle of your living room, not in the closet. If you want to eat healthier, put apples on the counter, not in the crisper drawer. Make your good habits obvious and your bad habits invisible. Success is not about the one-time massive action. It is the product of daily habits. Forget about goals. Focus on your system. Improve by 1% today. Store your potential until you break through. Cast a vote for the person you want to be, and design a world where doing the right thing is the easy thing. You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems.